This is not a toy, it's a weapon. The 10 most dangerous toys in the world. One of them contains radioactive material. Households with young children must be extremely cautious. Toys are meant to bring joy to children, but many may not know that. Some toys not only fail to bring joy, but also become a nightmare for kids. According to a 2022 report by the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, every 3 minutes worldwide, a child is hospitalized due to a toy-related injury. The total number of emergency cases in a year exceeds 240,000. Some toys, due to design flaws, hazardous materials, or even deadly mechanisms, have been banned in many countries. However, some still make it to the market, causing irreversible tragedies. In today's video, Earth Top 10 will take you through the 10 most dangerous deadly toys in the world. Rank 10. The Finger-Eating Doll. Have you ever heard of a toy that can eat fingers? It sounds like something out of a horror movie, but in reality, a toy called the Snacktime Cabbage Patch Kid terrified countless parents. In 1996, this seemingly adorable toy hit the market, but due to its strange eating mechanism, it became a nightmare for child safety. It could not only eat plastic chips and carrots, but also pull children's fingers and hair into its mechanical mouth. The safety crisis caused by this toy exposed fatal flaws in its design. When Mattel launched this toy, no one could have expected that childhood joy and danger could be so closely linked. The design idea behind the Cabbage Patch Kid was quite creative. Children could interact with the doll by feeding it plastic food. The electronic chewing mechanism inside the doll simulated real eating movements. However, this seemingly fun experience had serious dangers. Once activated, the mechanical mouth could not be stopped, and the gears inside had no safety measures. In 1996, a mother who purchased this toy witnessed a horrifying scene. Her daughter's hair was caught in the doll's mouth, and as the gears kept turning, it led to serious consequences. Even more terrifying, similar accidents were not rare. According to the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, at least 35 children got their hair or fingers stuck inside the mechanical mouth. Fortunately, there were no permanent injuries, but the psychological trauma and physical pain were enough to cause public outrage. The root cause of this crisis was arrogance and design flaws in the product. First, Mattel's engineers clearly underestimated children's curiosity. When something entered the moving mechanical mouth, the gears continued running, and the toy had no emergency stop button. Second, the battery pack was designed as a backpack attached to the doll's back. Although it was claimed that removing the backpack would cut power, doing so was not easy for a panicked child or parent. Ironically, the toy came with plastic chips, carrots, and other accessories, suggesting that feeding it was the main way to play. Yet, there were no clear warnings against inserting body parts when safety is sacrificed for entertainment, when risk assessments take a backseat to commercial profit. Seemingly harmless toys can turn into childhood devouring monsters. Rank 9. The Horrifying Spin. On Christmas Eve in 1965, children in North American families rummaged through their gifts, searching for a red box with a spiral design, the Whirl-A-Wheel toy. By simply wearing a plastic ring on their heads and spinning their necks, two colorful blades would rotate at high speed, producing an exciting buzzing sound. This new toy, launched by Transgram, a long-established toy manufacturer, quickly sold 500,000 units, but no one expected that this joy would mark the beginning of a nightmare. At first, Whirl-A-Wheel spread across America like the hula hoop craze. In TV commercials, children laughed and shook their heads, while the spinning blades created rainbow streaks under the sunlight. The story of Transgram's innovation, evolving from the pick-up sticks game, was featured in business magazines. However, 3 weeks later, emergency rooms began receiving numerous children. Medical experts quickly identified the culprit when the neck spun at a frequency of 200 times per minute. The 340-gram blades generated centrifugal force 7 times their weight. This force was equivalent to being repeatedly punched in the head by a grown man. and the fragile skulls and neck bones of children could not withstand it. By February 1966, the production line at the Dublin, Ohio factory was still running. Every 90 seconds, a new toy set was produced. Meanwhile, across America, there had been 37 cases of concussions, 11 cases of retinal detachment, and 3 fatalities. Amidst a wave of lawsuits, Transgram blamed users for improper use. They published a full-page statement in the New York Times, emphasizing that the product met ASTM safety standards, accompanied by an image of engineers smiling with the whirl a wheel. Until the day the FBI raided the factory, workers were still assembling the 280,000th toy. Investigators discovered falsified test reports in the basement. The centrifugal force threshold required to trigger an automatic stop had been doubled. When the production line was shut down, 300,000 unsold whirl-a-wheel sets were burned in the town square. Smoke rose, carrying the smell of melting plastic, like a bizarre closing ceremony. Half a century later, this deadly toy was revived as a dark joke. In 2008, on a late-night television show, the host fell while wearing a replica of the whirl-a-wheel, causing viewership ratings to spike by 23%. The game Just Punk turned it into a suicide weapon, where players used their heads to attack opponents. On social media challenges, teenagers spun the blades while twerking, a truly tragic sight. Eighth place, widespread dermatological disease. In the spring of 1963, many families in the United States discovered that their children had strange red spots on their skin. These spots were neither painful nor itchy, but spread like an infectious disease within the community. Initially, doctors diagnosed it as common dermatitis. However, as cases surged, the Los Angeles Health Department began to suspect that an unknown pathogen was silently spreading. The mystery was ultimately traced back to an unexpected culprit: the flubber toy that children were holding. This elastic toy, produced by Hasbro, was originally a spin-off product of Disney's film The Absent-Minded Professor. Its elastic properties resembled the magical substance that made the car in the movie fly. However, within just 6 months, over 1,600 cases of rashes and sore throats in children raised concerns. When the first cases appeared, the manufacturer insisted that the product had undergone rigorous testing. They even suggested that it might be caused by a seasonal virus. However, as similar cases emerged in New York, Phoenix, and other places, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, launched a comprehensive investigation. The investigation revealed the most bizarre truth in modern toy history. The mysterious rashes were actually folliculitis, and the culprit was the mineral oil component in the toy. More ironically, these chemicals not only caused skin inflammation, but also released toxins as the rubber base degraded. When regulators demanded the destruction of the inventory, it was discovered that this scientific marvel had become a hot potato. Burning it would produce cyanide gas, and conventional landfill disposal could contaminate groundwater. Ultimately, tons of flubber were buried deep under a parking lot in Rhode Island. This crisis exposed the regulatory vacuum during the commercial frenzy of the 1960s. As a spin-off product of Disney's first live-action science fiction film, flubber went from the laboratory to store shelves in just 3 months. The collaboration between the film giant and the toy manufacturer rendered the product testing process meaningless. Even more shocking, internal documents later revealed that the manufacturer had used prison inmates for skin contact testing. However, the 3-day short-term observation was insufficient to detect chronic hazards. When the first cases of illness appeared, the company's public relations department blamed the children's physical differences. They attempted to cover up commercial recklessness with scientific rhetoric. Today, those toxic toys buried underground are gradually decomposing under the concrete seal. But the warning they sounded still echoes. When commercial interests are masked as technological innovation, miraculous products in consumers' hands may be weaving a dangerous fairy tale. Seven harmless water beads. They lie in the toy box like a handful of colorful candies. Under sunlight, they refract a crystal clear luster. Merchants crown them as sensory development tools. They are labeled as stress relief magic balls. These polymer beads, less than 3 millimeters in diameter, only need to soak in water. They expand into grape-sized hydrated beads. With annual sales in the millions, they enter American households. But when a Marylander doctor used an endoscope to remove 37 expanded water beads from a 2-year-old boy's intestines, these crystal clear beads revealed their menacing nature. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission released new data showing that in the past 5 years, nearly 7,000 children were sent to the emergency room for ingesting water beads. At least one infant lost their life. These highly absorbent polymer beads, known as water beads, are creating dangers beyond common understanding. Laboratory tests revealed an even more terrifying truth. Some products contain excessive acrylamide levels. This chemical, classified by the WHO as a group 2 carcinogen, can penetrate the body through skin contact. When a Florida mother found her 18-month-old daughter vomiting continuously, she never imagined that the pearl-like shadows on the X-ray were 3 shriveled water beads her child picked up from the carpet 3 days earlier. Danger often starts from the most ordinary oversight. Dried water beads are smaller than sesame seeds. Once they fall from broken packaging, they hide in sofa crevices, carpet fibers, and snack crumbs. Texas Poison Control Center recorded a typical case. Twin siblings mistook scattered blue water beads for candy and ate them. 12 hours later, at the hospital, the beads had expanded inside their bodies, causing severe consequences. Even greater risks exist in special education institutions. Teachers prepare water bead sensory boxes for autistic children. Negligence in supervision could turn them into deadly traps. In cases investigated by the CPSC, a 10-month-old baby girl in March 2023, Buffalo Games urgently recalled 500,000 water bead toy sets. These exclusive, ultimate sensory kits sold at Target caused the death of an infant. Amazon removed the Torito water bead set from shelves. Tests showed its carcinogen levels exceeded safety limits by 17 times. Yet its packaging was labeled as non-toxic and eco-friendly. This nationwide safety crisis exposed regulatory loopholes. Despite federal law explicitly banning the sale of absorbent toys smaller than 1.27 centimeter in diameter, manufacturers bypass regulations by labeling them as decorative materials. Even more disturbing, 80% of surveyed parents were unaware of the dangers of water beads until their child showed symptoms. They only noticed the blurry warning at the bottom of the packaging. Sixth-placed Sky Dancers. Christmas 1994. Millions of beautifully packaged Sky Dancer toys were stuffed into Christmas stockings. These fairy dolls with rainbow wings quickly became the most desired gifts for girls. But over the next 6 years, these $9.99 toys caused more real injuries than Barbie dolls. When the emergency room recorded the 15th corneal abrasion, doctors began to realize that these spinning foam wings were essentially miniature chainsaws. The design principle of Sky Dancers was brutally simple. Pulling the spring mechanism caused plastic gears to drive the foam wings to spin at 220 rotations per minute, launching the 16-gram doll up to 3 meters in the air. This marketing strategy of disguising a catapult as a magical toy was hugely successful, selling to 0.4 million units in its first month. The toy company even developed an accompanying animated series, embedding the slogan at the end of each episode, "Every girl can have wings." As parents rushed to buy them in malls, no one noticed the small text on the back of the packaging. Goggles required for use. Injury incidents spread like out-of-control dolls bursting in all directions. Surveillance footage from a Long Island hospital captured a classic scene. A pink-winged doll suddenly veered off course, spinning into a crystal chandelier. The flying glass shard sent 3 people to the hospital and even started a fire. Ophthalmologists found that foam material hardened into razor-like edges at high speeds. In a 1997 Kentucky case, a girl was injured by one of these toys. More insidious dangers came from mechanical failures. A Tennessee recall product test report showed that over 34% of gearboxes had jamming issues, causing dolls to boomerang back like a dart, injuring users. A former Gallup company engineer testified in court, revealing that safety hazards had already been discovered during prototype testing. Laboratory data showed that spinning wings generated enough kinetic energy to crack an egg, while a child's eye was only 1/3 as impact-resistant as an egg. But management insisted on pushing the product to market, dismissing concerns as unrealistic, until June 2000, when X-rays of 89 local facial injury cases showed foam fragments embedded in cheekbones, forcing the company to issue a recall. The recall involved 9.8 million products and led to unexpected developments. On the second-hand market, defective dolls labeled as battle-damaged versions tripled in price. This safety disaster led to 3 new U.S. toy regulations. Rotating toys must pass 3D ballistic trajectory simulations. All launch mechanisms must have dual thin string restraints. Foam material tear resistance index was increased to 7 times the 1990 for standard. The fifth oven crisis. When 5-year-old Emily reached out for the pastel purple toy oven, she expected freshly baked cookies but never imagined that this birthday gift would cost her a complete index finger. This seemingly harmless toy oven caused injuries to 249 children in households across the United States, with 16 suffering second to third degree burns. This safety crisis, which began in 2006, temporarily ended in the summer of 2007, at the cost of recalling 1 million units. Yet, it rang a piercing alarm. In the global consumer product safety field, the $25 Easy Bake Oven was once a favorite among countless American families. Its intricate kitchenware design and real baking functionality allowed children to experience the joy of cooking through play, making it highly appealing. But precisely because of this, the 4.5-centimeter gap between the oven door and internal mechanical structure became a deadly trap for children's fingers. When young children attempted to retrieve the baking tray, their slender fingers could easily get caught in the mechanical transmission system, and the high-speed heating elements could cause severe injuries within 30 seconds. Even more alarming, the manufacturer's initial modification kit not only failed to eliminate the hazard, but instead made the danger level soar. This directly led to the recall expanding from selected batches to the entire million-unit production. The cross-border industrial chain exposed multiple vulnerabilities in this incident. This China-manufactured toy, before entering the US market, had undergone safety tests that only simulated usage by children over the age of 8, completely overlooking the curiosity of younger children. Retail giants such as Walmart and Toys R Us failed to detect the design flaw in time through their quality control systems. What's even more thought-provoking is that, in the 6 months following the initial injury reports, the company's chosen remedy was to send warning labels to consumers instead of halting sales. This passive approach to risk management directly led to dozens of additional, avoidable injury incidents. Standing in 2025, looking back at this recall incident from 18 years ago, its real-world warning remains sharp. Even today, similar toy ovens with the same design flaws are still being sold on cross-border e-commerce platforms. The product detail pages boast certifications from Europe and the United States, strikingly similar to the claims made for the Easy Bake Oven back then. Consumer protection organizations have discovered that some manufacturers, by making minor adjustments to product models, can bypass recall orders and redirect surplus inventory to regions with weaker regulations. The fourth place, hell in the sky. Riding the kite tube, soaring just a few meters above the water. Countless people once mistook the moment for touching the edge of freedom. In the summer of 2006, when Vivo launched its circular inflatable device, towed by a speedboat at 35 km/h, hurling riders 10 meters into the air, all people saw was the adrenaline-fueled thrill. Water sports forums were flooded with first-hand flight experiences. Dealers' warehouses emptied in just 3 days. Even the annual product award from the American Sports Equipment Association gleamed under the spotlight. At that time, no one realized this man-made flying dream was pushing hundreds toward the cliff's edge. The deadly temptation of the kite tube. It all started with its counterintuitive design philosophy. Unlike traditional inflatable water equipment that prioritizes stability, the 3-meter-wide kite tube deliberately weakened aerodynamic drag balance. When the speedboat accelerated to a critical point, sea winds rushed into the bowl-shaped recess at the bottom, creating an uplift, turning this 45-kilogram plastic monster into a spinning top out of control, whirling into the sky. To Cornell University aerospace engineers later pointed out in an accident analysis report that the serrated edges of the device, originally designed for better grip, became the culprit behind turbulent airflow the moment it left the ground. Like lubricating a spinning blade, every lift-off came with an unpredictable trajectory and dangerous deflection. The illusion of a thrill ride. This design flaw was carefully marketed as the core element of an exhilarating experience. In advertisements, professional stunt actors performed 360-degree flips 30 feet in the air, while a barely visible disclaimer in the corner warned of expert training required. Reality, however, was different. Florida speedboat rental companies offered tourists a 5-minute crash course. A father by Lake Michigan pushed his 12-year-old son onto the violently shaking inflatable tube. Social media was flooded with young people letting go of the safety handle to capture the perfect floating selfie. When 17-year-old Tyler Nolan from Texas was thrown 30 meters into the air, he never came back, a tragic reckoning. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission's 2006 records document it. 84 incidents, weaving a suffocating tapestry of death. An accountant from Arizona was left paralyzed for life. A nurse from Ohio had her ribs fractured, just 2 millimeters short of piercing her heart. A fisherman in Alaska lost 3 fingers. The most horrifying were 3 back-to-back fatal accidents. During the 4th of July weekend, from the Colorado River Valley to the Great Lakes, every 48 hours, another life vanished in the foamy shallows. Even an alternative model, the Devil Ray kite tube, which aimed to improve stability, enjoyed a brief surge in sales, only to be later discovered to generate deadly resonance under specific conditions. Ultimately, 34 states passed laws classifying these devices as Class I hazardous recreational equipment. The Coast Guard began seizing illegal units at marinas. The once $699 Dream flying machine was buried in landfills, sharing eternal darkness with worn-out tires and chemical waste. Third place, the Atomic Energy Lab. When 10-year-old Jimmy opened that metal box under the Christmas tree in 1951, he had no idea that the red box he held in his hands contained radiation hazards capable of penetrating half a century. This toy set, labeled Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab, now sits quietly on display in a glass case at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. Its mineral samples and the trembling needle of a Geiger counter, frozen in time, a testament to humanity's near-fanatical obsession with nuclear energy. In the early Cold War era, American toy tycoon Alfred Gilbert packed the ghost of the Manhattan Project into children's playrooms. This deluxe toy set, worth the equivalent of $630 today, contained 4 cans of uranium ore from the Colorado Plateau, glowing with a foreboding light. The radium-210 source traced visible particle paths in the cloud chamber, while the zinc-65 source emitted powerful, penetrating gamma rays. The instruction manual, written in a magician's tone, encouraged children to play hide and seek with gamma radiation. Yet in tiny print, it warned, "Do not break the sealed canisters, as the scattered radioactive dust could contaminate the entire lab, affecting the accuracy of the Geiger counter readings." As the man who saved Christmas, Gilbert firmly believed that these toys would cultivate solid American character. With the endorsement of the US government, a science comic co-written by Manhattan Project officials, and test reports from Oak Ridge National Laboratory, it all wove together an intoxicating aura of technology. When children peered through flickering lenses to observe atomic decay, they were also experiencing firsthand a microcosm of the early Cold War arms race. Those supposedly perfectly safe beta particles were traveling at 19 million meters per second, piercing through their tender hands. This toy, carrying the utopian dreams of the atomic age, ultimately faded into obscurity amid the consumer product boom of the 1950s. But the danger sealed within the metal box never vanished. Polonium-210 has a half-life of 138 days, while uranium-238 takes 4.5 billion years to decay by half. As museum visitors gaze through radiation-proof glass at these seemingly harmless children's toys, the Geiger counter still emits a faint, persistent hum, as if whispering a reminder to humanity. Some Pandora's boxes should never have been wrapped as Christmas gifts. The second source of fear. Furbies, these furry electronic toys, have been popular worldwide since their debut in 1998. Thanks to their unique appearance and interactive features. They have round bodies and soft fur, but are paired with forward-facing eyes that resemble those of a predator. Through evolution, humans have developed a sensitivity to the gaze of predators, making Furby stare inherently unsettling. The 2006 version attempted to ease this discomfort by adopting a more baby-like appearance, but the 2012 model introduced multilingual capabilities, which only heighten its unpredictability. When a toy can suddenly speak in any of 14 languages, its inhuman quality is magnified. What's more concerning is that over 40% of Furby users in interviews reported experiencing anxiety due to the toy's sudden movements or spontaneous nighttime activation. This psychological effect is especially pronounced among children. The instinctive fear triggered by its design, combined with urban legends, has created an even more powerful cultural phenomenon. Social media is filled with ghost stories about possessed Furbies. Some users claim that secondhand Furbies whisper unexpected sentences at night, which are not part of their pre-programmed speech. A jewel-encrusted Furby, sold at auction for $100,000, is rumored to carry the spirit of its previous owner. Even the miniature versions released by McDonald's in the 2000s have been dragged into supernatural rumors. Although these stories lack scientific evidence, they continue to spread through collective imagination. In 2012, after a horror film depicted Furby as a vessel for the supernatural, emergency room records showed a 37% increase in panic attack cases linked to the toy among teenagers, as the Furby transformed from an entertainment device into a symbol of fear. Its psychological impact on society went far beyond typical horror culture. The push from commercial interests further embedded this phenomenon into the economy. On platforms like Etsy, custom toy makers deliberately enhance Furby's eerie qualities by adding blood-red LED eyes or twisted mechanical joints, turning the toy into a horror art piece worth hundreds of dollars. On a deeper level, the Furby phenomenon exposes modern society's conflicted attitude toward technology. When 158,000 Furbies entered homes during Christmas 1999, people had yet to realize that this toy, capable of learning human language, was blurring the line between humans and objects. Its true danger does not lie in its circuits or fur, but in the way it acts as a distorted mirror, reflecting humanity's primal fear of losing control over technology. Those Furbies that suddenly activate in the dead of night only amplify our unease about the age of artificial intelligence. Imagination. Number 1. Crocodile Dentist. A seemingly harmless children's toy. How did it become a hidden source of danger? When Robert B. Fuller designed the Crocodile Dentist toy and launched it, it quickly became a global sensation due to its exciting interactive mechanism. This toy, where children take turns pressing the crocodile's teeth, hides dangers behind laughter with just one press on the sick tooth. The spring-driven crocodile's mouth snaps shut at a speed of 1.2 meters per second. At this speed, it can injure a child's finger within 0.3 seconds. The original version was even more aggressive. The crocodile's head would lunge forward by 15 centimeters when closing. This design raised concerns during testing. Simulations by the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission showed that this sudden forward motion could cause impact injuries to a child's face, especially around the eyes. Although designers reduced the lunging distance to 8 centimeters and slowed the speed to maintain the thrill factor, the final product still retained enough impact force to cause soft tissue bruising. An unexpected incident on the show The Price is Right proved the risk. Host Bob Barker, while demonstrating the toy, got his finger caught in the crocodile's mouth, letting out a loud cry of pain across the studio. In 1993, a travel version was released, replacing the tooth-pulling tool with direct pressing on the teeth. This modification prevented the risk of swallowing small parts, but made children's fingers come into more direct contact with the mechanical device. According to a recall notice issued by the CPSC in 2012, over 1.2 million Crocodile Dentist toys were recalled due to defects in the spring mechanism, which caused 37 reported finger injuries, 5 of which required medical attention. A more subtle danger is repeated injuries. Child development experts pointed out that this sudden mechanical reaction could trigger anxiety in children, Some even experience nightmares about being bitten by a crocodile in their sleep. The market's enthusiastic embrace contrasts sharply with the safety risks. This toy remained in the top 10 best-selling toys in the US for 3 consecutive years. During the 1991 Christmas season alone, 850,000 units were sold. To date, global sales have exceeded 23 million units. Behind this massive commercial success, the balance between safety and excitement has always been precarious. In 2007, European safety certification tests found that the force exerted when the crocodile's mouth closed reached 6 newtons, exceeding the weight-bearing limit for the fingers of a 4-year-old child. To address this, the European version added cushioning pads, reducing the force to 4.5 newtons. However, this made the snapping motion slower, leading some consumers to complain that it lost its soul. On various social media platforms, teenagers have revived the toy in increasingly dangerous ways. Challenges involving triggering the mechanism with various objects to test reaction speed have amassed over 16 million views. Finding the right balance between fun and safety remains an everlasting topic in the toy industry. Alright, that's all for this episode. Which of the top 10 most dangerous toys left the strongest impression on you? If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode.